Hi, my name is Michael Lee of the Source Code Group, and for the past couple of months, I've been looking at how to improve the experience of editing branch protections through the lens of branch rules. So this is what currently protected branches looks like right now, and this is the direction we're heading towards with branch rules. And looking at how we edit that, we're moving away from using drop downs and moving towards using drawers to actually make it more clear and at a glance understand what you actually selected for settings. And I was looking at this and was really happy with the results and thinking about, we're heading in the right direction by making things more visible and much more manageable for users. But one thing I have overlooked is that I need to think of settings that a project could inherit from. And with branch rules, where that could come into play is at the group level. So teams want to have the same approval rules for projects in a group. And this is a request that we've seen through requesting for merge request approval rules that are defined at the group and cascade down to projects. Looking at this problem, I was thinking, okay, I have my beautiful new branch rules, but how do I apply that from a group level? And at the moment, there's just a rough idea of what this design could be. But could there be one interface for groups and projects? And I created this issue to explore that thought a little bit further. I've been talking to my manager about this as well, and what we kind of thought about is, is there a common model that we could be using to represent these settings at a project and a group level? And thinking about that, there is, and that's a rule. And a rule is composed of a trigger, condition, and action. A trigger is like the event that invokes the rule. The conditions are things that must be met so that the rule can start running, and then the actions are the end result, the output or the outcome to make the changes within the application. So as a simple example, a type of trigger conditions actions for approval rules is when the branch target is defined for a merge request and that branch name matches the condition of a branch name or the wildcard expression, a required approval is injected into the merge request as an action. But we also have rules existing in our project right now, and that's push rules. And if we apply the same kind of idea here, we have triggers, conditions, and actions, where here we can see that conditions can get a lot more complex. This idea of conditions and actions is not new within GitLab, and the security policies team already implemented something that uses this concept where there's a condition and action here, and the trigger is done through the pipelines. And we can see here that we can see the different conditions, and then the action here is actually to inject a merge request approver, depending on whether it passes the security result or not, a scan result, sorry. So we can see that this idea of a rule can be applied to many areas within our settings. But let's visit this idea again of, why do teams want to have the same settings across all projects in a group? And, from one side, from a development side, you want to make sure that you don't conflict with business level requirements. There could be, you want to ensure that the code you're delivering is secure and compliant. And from a compliance side, there are rules and laws of operation, and therefore such compliance rules or frameworks need to be applied to the business, and that applies to the code. So this is where security policy comes through. And this idea that, whether you're looking at this from a security policies perspective or, project settings, you have like two personas and two different solutions. And I've taking a look at to see, is there a quick win to if I made the policy UI look a little bit more like the settings UI, does it help? And at the end of the day, no, not yet. It's close, but not there yet. There are areas to address with security policies because they sit outside projects and groups, and they could be shared across multiple projects and groups. They also have different permissions as in who can make the change, and there's also a required need to have at least two people to approve the security policy changes so that it can take effect. And we don't have anything like that within settings. At the moment, you can just go into settings if you have the right permissions and make the change. And we've recognized that not all projects and groups want or need to follow compliance frameworks. And for those scenarios, we may need to look at different way we apply rules or exceptions or break glass scenarios. In the future looking, we need to look at how we might be able to accommodate for complex actions and triggers similar to the complex condition scenario. I think that's something that we can build upon. All this is something that we as GitLab recognize, and is actually a good opportunity for collaboration between create and govern. You can follow this epic here to understand the potential areas where things overlap between our two groups and where we can find commonality. From a design perspective, it's an opportunity for me to work with and across groups. So I've been working closely with Camilla to understand security policies and compliance and their direction of where they're going. And I think I'm 80% there, but those areas to address, the 20%, are like the challenging bits that need more time to investigate further. So looking at this again, the main direction that we're looking at with this is that, we're solving things at the project level within source code, but from a compliance side, we need to be aware that, things could be set as a group, and as a way things need to cascade down to projects. And we need to look at this also from across multiple groups and seeing how that may cascade down. And the one way that we can see that, one model that we could be starting to implement is looking at the rule, thinking about fitting the user interface into a trigger condition action so that it's a familiar interface, whether you're approaching things high level or down at the project level. You're always presented with this concept of a rule, and this familiarity is what I think we can take to find a solution where we can have multiple personas, but at the end of the day we have one job and one solution, and that solution is through the use of rules. Thank you.